Hello, welcome to Integrity Live on this Wednesday again. Another beautiful day. Had some great interviews so far. Today I'm talking to the wonderful Annie Connolly. Annie, how are you?
Hello. All things considered, very good, thank you. Can't really complain. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's brilliant to see. I haven't seen you for so long. I miss seeing you. It's a long
Oh,
time.
it's been that I think that's been one of the hardest things with the whole lockdown thing, hasn't it?
Mm,
It's just not being able to see those faces that normally you would, and you know what we're like. I loved seeing you. So yeah, I've missed not seeing you, and I've missed the events and things, and yeah, but this is great, isn't it? It's like
it's
you're
brilliant.
you're almost here with me.
Yes. Well, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, Annie.
Well, that's rather a interesting question to start off with. God, where do I begin? Well, I'm Annie Connolly, and I kind of I'm quite involved with a lot of charity work, especially my own, or particularly my own. I first of all got involved with the dogs out in Romania, as you know. I think that's how we kind of got to know each other a little bit through some work I did with a previous charity, which you were brilliant and supported. And through that and through going out to Romania, and with the dogs and seeing what was going on out there, I realised that there was a huge issue with the working horses in Romania. And then from there, I just created Cherry Horse Welfare International, and it's still very early days. It's quite complex, but it's working in Romania, and then we're just in the process of setting up a UK arm to it as well. So yeah, so that's really me. I mean, way before I got way into all the charity things, I was also an ex-international athlete, so I kind of have a little bit of an athletic kind of background, and then came reasonably vocal, I think, in the vegan world as well. So yeah, anything to do with animals, Rob, and then that's me. I'm kind of
Absolutely. Absolutely.
there.
Well, I met you through Aaliyah, so Aaliyah introduced me to you, and we've been friends
Yeah,
ever since. And
yeah.
we've had some great times. So, how many times have you actually been to Romania?
I haven't been as many times as what you'd probably think, actually. I think I've probably only been about 3 or 4 times. Maybe more. No, so around, let's say about 3 or 4 times I've been out to Romania. But I've built really good working relationships with there's three main people that I work with out there. One is the Dog Rose Romania, and all these links are on my website, which I think you posted along with the link for this, which is cherryhorsewelfareinternational.org. So I go out and I help support Dog Rose Romania. So I've been out there and helped them. Then we've got Save the Dogs, which Cherry Horse Welfare helps to fund the horse section of that, and that's in Chernavoda. And then I support they're called like street feeders. They directly help the dogs on the streets. Yeah, and I support a girl called Alina, who's in a very northern part of Romania, quite isolated. So they struggle quite a bit. So I help her as well. So yeah.
That's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So, let me ask you a quick question then. Now, we both know Peter Egan, the actor. I got to meet him through events and that, and Ricky Gervais, etc. I know
Yeah.
you had a chat with Peter Egan once. I'm sure you got a great story to tell us about him. He's a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
actor as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. I mean, an incredibly passionate guy, and an incredibly genuinely passionate guy as well. And I think it was a couple of months after I did quite a big challenge where me and a friend of mine, we kayaked the English Channel and then got straight on our bikes and cycled from Brighton to London. So we set off from France at gosh knows what time in the morning, and then landed in London later on that evening. And it was pretty horrendous going, really. But we were raising quite a lot of money for a cause in Romania. And it was for a spay neuter unit. And Peter knew all about our challenge, and he knew what we were doing and what we were up to, and he knew what the call. I think he shared and reshared our adverts for it and things to try and get as much following as possible. So then I met him at an event a couple of months after the challenge, and I met the most amazing lady who she's an animal healer, and she'd written some beautifully stunning books, and she'd brought them to the event for me to give to me. And she'd written me a really beautiful note inside these books. I'd never met her before anyway, so she gave me these books. So I was walking around this event with these books, and then there was Peter Egan, and I have no idea how it happened, but we ended up just chatting, and he said to me that I want to hear all about your challenge. Anyway, so we were talking and talking, and you know what it's like at these events. Everybody wants to talk to people like, Peter Egan and Ricky Gervais and people like that. And he was so lovely. You know, there were people like waiting next to us, wanting to talk to him, trying to interrupt him. And he was so lovely, you know. And he was like, oh, no, I just must get to the end of this story. And I don't tell stories lightly. You know, my stories are always a bit long. And yeah. And so we ended up just, and I got to full stop, and he was like, he just said, I can't believe you did this. Anyway, he just proceeded. He said, he picked up my book, and then he said, here, I want you to have this. So he got a pen. I don't know where he got this pen from. And then he drew in this book a picture of me in a kayaking the channel, and he went, there you go, you can have that. And I was like, I had this book which was signed by this amazing, wonderful lady, Margaret, and then I had a drawing of me randomly done from Peter Egan. I was just like, you're just a legend. I love you. Even more. Like, it's just so cute. It was really lovely. So yeah,
great. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Well, tell us a bit more about your I tell you what, when I first met you did an event with Alira and I and Julia de Cananet for the No to Dog Meat. You remember that day?
Yes.
For Julia's charity.
How could I forget that day? There were so many things that happened that day that were just seriously memorable. But yeah, there's lots of reasons why I remember that day. It was a brilliant day, great cause. And what I took away from, I mean, there were some funny moments, but what I took away from that day was it was like an outreach day, wasn't it? To try and talk to people, to spread the word about dog meat. And what I took away from that day was it was astonishing how many people, you know, would come up to us and talk to us. And I remembered thinking, I can't believe how many people don't think this actually happens. They were absolutely astonished that there was, that people would eat dog meat and that there was a market for dog meat, you know. And so it was such an amazing day and a really good event. And just because, you know what it's like, it's about spreading the word, isn't it? You know, if people don't know, then how can they do something about it? So you've got to get that message, you've got to get that word out there in order for people to do something about it, or to potentially make changes going forward. So I thought it was a great day, and obviously I got that dress stuck on me as well, which was ridiculous.
Oh, that dress! Oh, that was funny. I've never seen anybody panic trying to get out of a dress. You must explain to the viewers about it. Aaliyah designed it, designed by Aaliyah again. Fabulous work by her. And we met Spike that day as well. Yeah.
That's when I met Spike, and I message Spike all the time. I adore that man. Yeah, he's a great guy.
And Beth,
say again?
Beth. We met Beth Cates.
Oh, yeah, I'd met her. I think I'd met her before then anyway. But yeah, again, she's just an absolute gem of a person. But this is the thing with the whole Integrity magazine, with everybody that's involved in Integrity. Once you kind of get to know them and get involved, that you're just such an amazing bunch of people. I just think you're all amazing. So yeah, really, really, really lovely. But yeah, Aaliyah had designed this very interesting, as Aaliyah does, this interesting dress, which was honestly, how she made it, I do not know. But it wasn't obviously made for me. It was made for somebody who was so stunningly tiny. And like, we managed to get this dress on, and I wore this dress for the day. And then when it came to having to take off this dress, we just couldn't get it off, could we? We just could not get it. So I'm there in the central London trying to get this dress off, and I'm having a complete panic. And I can hear it ripping every so often. I'm thinking, this is one of Aaliyah's dresses. Oh my God. And it's for this amazing lady. That's who it's actually designed for. And I'm like thinking, oh my God. And then it kept ripping, and we had to pretty much rip it, didn't we, to get it off. And I remember you saying, oh, it'll be okay. Aaliyah can fix and deal with anything. I was like panicking.
That was, it was
I panicked a lot.
It was like a dog treat dress, wasn't it?
It was made, so the idea of it was to get as much attention as possible. You know, so here was this dress that was made out of dog treats. You know, so it was essentially, so I was just parading around in a dog treat dress, essentially for people to come up and say, what are you doing, kind of thing, almost. And then I could then say, well, actually, have you heard about this? So it was made out of dog treats, and it was unbelievable, you know. Like, she's so smart, she's so clever. But yeah, I was a bit too, I needed to be a bit skinnier, I think, to be able to wear it.
Nothing obvious, just the way it went. It was good. So you've been doing all these campaigns. You're doing quite a few different campaigns, and we'll talk about your Cherry Horse one in a minute. But has there been any sort of like really bad incidents or anything that's really frightened you when you've been doing all this clever stuff, or has it been pretty?
I mean, there's nothing that's really necessarily frightened me. I mean, I think when you go to these places, it's if you really get involved with things, it's really useful to go out to these places to understand why, to make real change and to really make a difference. You really have to get, I think, deeper into the situation to be able to understand why are they like that, why is this happening, and then you can then piece things together in order to make a better plan to go forward, to be able to offer long-term, more sustained help. Because you know, and so there's times I've gone out and I've had it's eye-opening just how poor some of these places are, and then you feel sorry for, you know, you kind of, there's the human element to it too, and you understand it all works together. Yes, there's an inherent cruelty issue, but essentially it does all work together. You know, if we help the, you know, the poorer communities, if we help the, you know, the human side of it, you know, then in turn they're going to have a much more positive association with the dogs and with the animals, and then it all comes together. So I can't say there's anything that's necessarily been frightening, but certainly everything is an eye opener. You know, we go around and there's pigs wandering around the streets, and you're like, what? So yeah, it's an experience. Let's just put it that way. And obviously, it's not always a nice experience. But I think I'm quite good at, I'll go in, I'll see something, and it's almost like I'm there but not. And then I can go home, and then sometimes when you go home and get out of the situation, you'll think about it, and it can be a bit upsetting. But then that's what motivates you to get your head down and really try and do whatever you can, really.
Well, you said about your charity in Romania that you brought over to, you know, start everything. Has COVID put a stop on that for the moment? Has it helped?
Well,
you can tell by your face.
Well, COVID has been interesting in the sense that I think it's had a massive effect on people feeling confident to give money. So I think certainly donations have slowed down quite hugely. But for me personally, and for Cherry Horse Welfare, what it's done is it's highlighted a huge issue, a massive gap within horse welfare here in the UK that I think fits in really nicely with the ethos of Cherry Horse Welfare. And so it's kicked something off for me to be able to work here in the UK. So it's a little bit like it's almost like a food bank kind of thing. So it's like, do you know what, if there's you know, over here in the UK, you know, there are so many people who are suffering phenomenally, and it's temporarily, you know. Well, obviously for some people it's not temporary, but it's currently that they may find themselves in a temporary situation, which means that they're having to rely on food banks, etc. Well, some horses and animals could also be suffering the same situation. They don't want to give up their animals. They don't want to, you know, sort of rehome them or pass them on to anybody else. They essentially love them, they want to keep them, but just in this particular moment in time, the horses are potentially suffering because they're struggling to feed themselves, maybe, and then the horses or the dogs or whatever are also suffering with that too. So it's a concept I'm trying to bring in with Cherry Horse Welfare, that we can offer a food bank type situation where we can offer sort of haylage, etc. And there's a couple of other things as well going on with Cherry as well, that I think that I'm working on a case at the moment, which it's really hard. Anything that goes on in Romania, you can talk pretty freely about it, but in the UK, you've got horse welfare, you've got the RSPCA, etc. You can't always talk too much. You can't always talk too much about it. There's so many restraints. So yeah. Sorry, a very long, boring way of saying COVID's been interesting. There's two issues, but I think with everything, you've got to find a positive, and I've definitely found a positive with COVID.
Oh, that's good. So there is a sort of slight knock-on effect from that. So any other projects you've got coming up, or you want to be doing, or you could be doing?
Well, I'm really upset because I was asked to go and talk at an event which was coming up, I think, at the weekend actually, which was Voices for Asian Elephants, and I was going to be speaking alongside a lady called Sangeeta Iyer, she's very, very influential over in India regarding temple elephants and the fate of temple elephants. So I was supposed to be talking at that event, and so I'm really disappointed that that's been cancelled. So there's very little with that going on right now. So big events that normally people would be putting on or hosting in order to essentially raise awareness and raise money, it's just pretty much dead in the water. So there's not a huge amount going on. All I'm trying to do is, as much as I possibly can, within normal life restraints and as well, is trying to work through what can I implement here in the UK for Cherry Horse Welfare, as well as trying to raise money for the dogs in Romania as well, which again is quite tricky at the moment. So that's probably all I'm working on.
Well, you see adverts on telly at the moment when they say, donkeys are suffering, etc. If you can give this amount of money, but at the moment people haven't got it because of what's been going on. I feel so sorry for all these charities, but unfortunately, people will look after themselves first until this blows over. Until maybe later in the year or early next year. It's going to be a tough time for people. It really is.
Really tough, and it's always, the most vulnerable that suffer the most. So, in my case and what I do, it's going to be the animal charity, and it's understandable. I'm not saying I don't. I completely understand it, but you're right. You can't. One of my closest friends last year, he kept drumming it into me. You can't, Annie. You can't pour from an empty jug. You can't. So exactly like what you were saying there. If you don't know what's going on, you have to look after yourself. And sadly, donations, etc., are drying up because people are just really. It's such uncertain times right now that, in a sense, how can they be thinking about other things other than what their immediate, what's going on with them immediate. So I understand it, but I think for those, you've just got to do what you can, within your own either limitations or within your own what's going on with yourself.
Absolutely. Right, let's say that everything dies off, COVID is gone, we're all back to normal. Where do you see yourself in 3, 4, 5 years' time? What would you like to be doing?
I would like this. So this is all cherry related. So I would like, in 3 years' time, I would love for Cherry Horse Welfare to be working in, let's say, 4 other areas. In 3 years' time, I'd like it to be in 4 other areas of Romania. So that's then covering quite a major part. I'd like to have, I'd like to have my own group of like farriers, equine dentists, etc., who I can call upon, and then we do like annual trips over to Romania, etc. And I would like, I'd almost taking over. I know it's impossible, but you've got to dream big, right? I'd almost like Cherry to be all over Romania, and then I would like in 5 years' time, I'd like a very strong UK arm where we're an intermediary, where people can call me up, call Cherry Horse Welfare up and say there's an issue, and then we know exactly what to do and how to help it. And be much more directly proactive with the horses here in this country. That's what I want to be able to do.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget, always come to us at Integrity. We'll always help you. You know, we'll always promote you, etc. Put you in the magazine, do another interview. Anything you need, we'll be there for you.
Oh, I love you. I love you. Thank you.
Love you, guys. What you do is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So we support anybody like Julia's with No to Dog Meat, anything like
Exactly.
all these people. They do a fabulous job, so we'll always help.
Yeah.
For you, because it's thank you again for giving up your time today. It's been brilliant, and it's good to see you.
Oh my gosh, anytime. You know that. So.
Well, you know we call integrity. What does integrity mean to you?
Well, we all know what integrity means, and for me, that's something that is always. I'm mindful of that almost every day. It's not, for me, it's knowing who you are, what you are, and what you truly believe in to your core, and living genuinely to your own beliefs for you internally, you know, because that's what you truly believe. And it's almost like being a positive representation of yourself and who you are, and just being the best version of yourself, you know, and just being a good person, I think.
And you are a good person. You're a
well, we try. So yeah, I think that's what it means to me.
Yeah. Before we go, just tell us your web address again and your charity.
So it is actually, it's on my back.
Go on, this can be back. Let's have a look.
Can you see that?
Let's move a bit to the other side. Move the other way. That's it. Yep. There you go. Cherry Horse. We can all see the address. Brilliant. www. Yep. Brilliant.
www.cherryhorsewelfareinternational.org.
There you go. Well done.
Yeah.
And it's been an absolute pleasure. And I can't wait to see you in the flesh again and give you a big hug.
I can't wait to see you neither. And really, really, really looking forward to it. And thank you again, and thank you for everything you and Integrity do. I think I love you all.
Thank you, Leah, for all this. Leah's the glue that holds it all together, bless her.
Oh yeah, she sure is. So yeah, so thank you very much.
My pleasure. Listen, you take care, look after yourself, and I'll see you again soon.
I will. See you soon. Bye.